Well, good evening to you all. I see a lot of familiar faces. I haven't scanned through to see who's here, but there's people scattered from all over the place. Even Sushi showing up in real life, not her picture. To you all, I see. All right, hold on. Unfortunately, I was getting a call in. All right, we will start. What we were talking about the last time was the idea um, of how there's an interaction between a master and the student. And it's very important because this kind of an interaction is one in which the master is constantly checking to see if there's something there that needs to be tested, and to gently, and sometimes not so gently, correct the student in terms of how they perceive things. And when they begin to talk about I, then that's when the master steps in and says, no, no, this is where your error is. Oftentimes I'll ask people, the students, can you confess so and so's sin? Which is actually a classical type of an exchange, which I like in terms of that, because then we look at it and it's not really like you're a sinner. It's an error in your understanding of the practice. But these tiny corrections really make a difference later on. They are such that as we begin to correct little by little, the student doesn't even know where they're at anymore or the level anymore. And I had one student that was very, very frustrated because she was talking to people about right view and they thought that she was crazy. And they went, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And she was very, very frustrated. And she was just giving basic right view. But the difference is that she's not a master, so it looked like it was incredulous to them as to what she was saying. Oftentimes this happens if people are clinging a lot to the devotional side, and there's nothing wrong with the devotional side, which is, giving respect to the Buddhas, burning incense, giving offerings, and also the practice side of the paramitas and the precepts. But we still have to know that where those are headed to. And so in this way, this is something that's important. And also in this class this time, until I say otherwise, people can present questions to me during the class. And I want an exchange between us. This was something that I kind of missed when we had the small group in Riverside. And if you notice, a lot of the people that are here, my senior students, they really benefited from this kind of an exchange on a weekly basis in terms of asking questions and being corrected. And this is something that's very, very important. And it's actually something that's very important. I learned even in the martial arts, is that if you're not corrected and you think you're doing things right all the time, and maybe you're sparring with people and you have this one technique that works all the time until somebody can neutralize it. And if you only relied on one thing, then it doesn't really help you, because now you have to come up with something else, because you'll be beat every single time by that neutralization. The same thing here with the practice is that we are constantly are honing our skills and looking into this to see where we're at. And so it is this idea that if you're corrected, that's a good thing. That's really, really a good thing. And you should be so joyed to be that much closer to a clear understanding of what mind is. This is something that is sometimes rare, because oftentimes people don't have someone, a well-known advisor, to help them. And especially, for instance, in Europe, there's not well-known advisors there, and so people are really understand and accept this. This is a good time, a great opportunity, and you don't want to go, oh, Gilbert's gone. I should have asked him this question, but I was too embarrassed. This is too much ego. Don't worry about the ego. Just ask your questions. This is the time. There is no real stupid question, maybe stupid answers that I give you, but the questions are all good. The answers may appear to be stupid, but they're calculated to show something in terms of every time I respond to someone, it is in this way. And don't think that it's just one meaning. And sometimes when I say things, sometimes, it can be a double meaning or even a triple entendre that I'm saying, so that you can get look at it, because it's not really in the verbal answer as much as in the contemplation. This is the exchange that you have with a well-known advisor, somebody that is kind of pointing the way. They're not telling you the way, they're pointing the way and saying, here, dig here. No. And in the old days, they'd have these dowsers. I think they were called dowsers. They had these kind of like these branches that they'd hold in their hands and with a point in the end, and then they could tell you where to dig to get water from the ground. And that's kind of what I do, is I just say, dig here, don't dig over there. You're polishing yourself. Don't dig there. Come here. Contemplate, use this tool of contemplation, not cogitation. And so this is how we approach the practice. This last weekend, or maybe I can't remember when, I had put in a Chan 101 on how to practice if you're a beginner, and that one is very good for you to review, so that you can get an idea of what the practice is. And as you begin to practice, the more you practice, the harder you practice. The goal appears to be so much farther away, but yet intimate. It's very interesting, and you see the wealth that we have in terms of what to practice. The Christians, they have essentially a Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, maybe 800 pages. No, the Flower Adornment Sutra is probably just of itself maybe 3 times that. And you think of all the sutras, Nikayas that we have, all the treatises, it's such a wealth of practice and knowledge. And it's something that you have to use your heart to guide you, to try to work on this. And it is not one in the form of a Pac-Man where you are constantly trying to consume this sutra and consume that sutra. It isn't in this way. Oftentimes, I will open up a sutra or a treatise. I'll open a book to any page and start there. And you go, Gilbert, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Because it's all full of diamonds and jewels, precious. And we don't have to start at the beginning sometimes. Sometimes we just open it up and see what's there and what fate presents us. I don't mean to say that you do that every time you read a sutra. Of course, you want to start from the beginning, but if you start that way with the Flower Adornment Sutra, the Huayan Jin, I think in Chinese, it's that, right, Wendy? So I actually said it close to enough that they understood it. But if you've ever approached that sutra, you're just going, and this page, and how many Buddhas are there? And after like 50 pages of Buddhas, you're already tired and you haven't got to where you think that there's something there, but it's still teaching you something. So in any case, we have to learn how to approach the practice and to understand that Chan, meaning dhyana in Sanskrit, is a verb. It's a practice. It's an effort. It's a demonstration of mind. Very important to understand that, because we say, well, what is mind? And then the master says, ask me a question. Why does he say that? Because that's the demonstration of Chan. When we practice in this way, then we begin to understand more. And then the final thing that I would say before we start here is the beginner's mind. We always talk about the beginner's mind. And it's something very almost kishi now to say. I don't know if the Chinese would understand kishi. I don't know if Harry's here. He would probably be the one to be able to explain that more than I could. What does kishi mean? You have to unmute him.
I didn't quite catch it, Gilbert. It sounded like kichi.
Kishi, like kishi, like kind of.
Shishi? You mean like?
I'm speaking in more, let's say, Hebrew. Kishi, like, oh, that's so kishi. You don't get it.
Oh, do you mean kitsch? You mean like I don't know. There's a number of words. Kitsch, yeah, that means like.
In Southern California, we say kishi.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of dull hackneyed art or something, or a little over the top.
Yeah, a little over the top. It's kind of taken the place now for from mindfulness, or metta was another word that was just overused, and people lost the meaning of it. There it is. He has got it. The kichi.
Yeah.
We say kichi here. Just like saying like oh, people just use that. It was like the happy face. Remember, everybody saw the happy face for a long time, yes. And you just go, please it. And after a while, you saw the happy face with a bullet hole in it because people got tired of seeing that. But the idea is that beginner's mind is very, very serious, because it is when we have a beginner's mind, we have no expectation whatsoever of anything that we're going to get. We simply put our mind in the present moment and practice, and that's it. It's not, oh, I'm a beginner, and you're sucking your thumb. It's not in that way. It's not that kind of a beginner. The beginner is that we have no expectations at all. We just simply practice, and that's enough. That's why they call it Chan. It's practice. And so when we practice, then they say that you burn the self in the present moment. You burn the self via the beginner's mind, just simply putting it there. And what is that beginner's mind? It's your original face. So it's not so much that you're saying, oh, I want to be a beginner all over again. It isn't in that way. It's a sophisticated beginner's mind. It's a beginner's mind that just simply is in the present and understands. It understands what the practice is. And so it doesn't get itself ahead. It doesn't have to rush to meet something there. It is just simply there, and everything that it does is in a good way. The other day I used a word that Santa liked. What was that word? Do you remember?
Which one? I don't remember.
The savoir-faire.
Oh yeah.
Savoir-faire. That sounds really fancy. Later on, it'll be Kishi in about 6 months. But right now, there it is. Savoir-faire is like you have a confidence in what you're doing, and you're very, very calm, and and you're oriented to this moment. It was very interesting. Today, I was on a court call. You don't show up in court anymore at this point. But the judge, I'd never been in front of this judge. It was a lady judge, and she was so calm. Everything she did, she would listen to the people, and she could rip you apart. She didn't suffer fools at all, but she never elevated her voice. Her voice was always calm and pointing out and saying, no, it should be this way. Don't you think? Don't you think that that's what the law is? And then you can see the attorney kind of shrinking down in his office, wherever he was at. But there's this kind of a savoir-faire there, that a confidence in the practice. And that comes with this idea of a beginner's mind, that we don't have to rush anything. We don't have to bang on the table to make our point. We simply just have to show the way in that way. And this is what is good. So this savoir-faire is, just imagine yourself when you go out and you're talking to people and they'll go, have you noticed Harry now? No, what? You mean the ascot that he's wearing? No, not the ascot that he's wearing, or the pipe, but he's much calmer now. He's much calmer. He doesn't wear t-shirts anymore. Sorry, I'm poking fun at you, but you're, I care a lot about you.
I enjoy it.
But and you said he's very, very calm, and that's what draws people to our practice. That we are there and we can make points. We can articulate the whatever we need in that moment, and the world doesn't faze us. If you had seen me 30 seconds before I came on, I was dealing with somebody that was working on my audio system, and sandwiched in a half an hour worth of time beforehand to be able to do that. And boom, here I am. And before that, I woofed some dinner, and before that I was working. And after I finish, I'll go back and do some more work. It's just that way. But we just are resting right now. I'm resting from all my legal work I was doing. And so this is kind of the savoir-faire. You want this kind of an easiness in the world. We mess it up. We mess it up by being impatient, by being judgmental, to discriminate. All of these things affect us. But if we really know how to practice well, it's a practice. It's a verb that we do. We're engaged in every day. It's just this way. What is the beginning? The present moment. You just come back to the present moment. You're going to go back into the past. You're going to go to the future and anticipate things. And you're going to go and say, what happened here? Why did this? And you're trying to dissect the past. And you really lose control of that center point. And it's very, very interesting, when you really contemplate the present moment, because it doesn't exist. And yet we're constantly putting ourselves in the present moment, this delicate tightrope, what I call balancing a point of a pin, where one side's the future, one side's the past, or we can say moving this way or that way, whichever way, right in this moment, it's a perfect balance in whatever we do. So if we cannot practice in this way, it's going to be hard for us to maintain the clarity of mind when we begin to study, because studying is so precious. When we read, it's just amazing. And to me, to study and when I study for you. I think I've read enough words for myself in this lifetime. Not that I have stopped studying for myself, but my practice now is studying for the benefit of you. And as I come along the way, I follow just along with you in this study. Okay, any questions before I move on? All of that's kind of self-explanatory. Okay. Hopefully I didn't repeat this from last week. A monk asked Niutou, the people known as saints, what dharmas do they cut off, and what dharmas should they attain so that they can thus earn this title? So if you want to be a saint, what dharmas do you cut off and what do you attain to get this title? So what would you say to it? You're the master now. You're the master. And if somebody asks you, what dharmas should you cut off? What phenomena should you cut off? And which should you attain? Nobody know? Come on. Yes, Rongchit. Unmute him, please. Or unmute yourself. There you go.
The Dharma to retain is your attainment of Tao. You mean the Buddha nature.
Okay.
Everything else you don't attain. Just you obtain the Buddha nature. That's also we call it the Tao.
What do you cut off then?
Everything else is a phenomena. Is a manifestation of this Buddha nature or Tao. Everything else is just a manifestation.
So you would cut that out?
It's all phenomena.
Okay. I'm an attorney, you know. So you're saying that you would cut that out because it's not important.
It's just a natural demonstration.
Okay. Can anybody help him out? You went up like 10 feet and then you went down and but so you're even now.
I would
Anybody throw him a lifeline? Yes. Liang Sholin.
You don't cut out anything.
Okay. Why?
Everything is mine. There's nothing to cut out.
There you
Is
go.
that how you attain things?
Same.
The same. Same what?
Same as nothing to cut out.
So you're saying you attain by nothing to
Or
cut off?
attain, you don't attain anything
Okay.
because you are there already.
All right. And where is there?
Right here.
Where are you in this? Because you say you are already there. I want to see, did you cut off the self or not? See, Rom Chen, you got the easy part. Anybody else? We'll move on. Good
Endless
job.
vexations.
I'm sorry, Ruth?
You would cut off endless vexations.
Endless fixations. And exactly who cuts those off?
Mm,
You just
you
step
do.
right into, huh?
You do.
You do. Now you're making me a partner in crime.
Got caught.
No, I do.
Yeah. So it's like rounding up the usual suspects. All right. Let's see what Niutou said to him. Those who cut off or attain even a single dharma, those who don't cut off or attain a single dharma, they are called saints. It's very interesting, and it's very, very subtle wisdom here, because we don't have to cut off the vexations. They're part of mind, and we see that they're naturally appearing in mind. They're phenomenal, rising and falling according with causes and conditions. But the idea of causes and conditions, we call pratika samapada, it never fails. It is why they say that the Buddhas use the vexations of sentient beings to practice. Why is that? Anybody know? It's a cool thing to say, but do you know what it means? Because if you know what it means, it will blow your head off. I don't know if Lena showed up tonight or not. She's from back east. but she really penetrated that once I said that in a retreat, and she just instantly realized it, that the Buddhas use this, the vexations of sentient beings to practice. It's still mind. It's still the Buddha mind. It's just that we are, the mind itself is aware of the arising and falling. It is not attached to it. It doesn't have to push things out or try to collect some kind of an understanding, because that understanding would belong to samsara. What could the mind teach the mind? But it is this process of disentangling the mind from all of this kind of seaweed that's in the ocean, that's kind of boggling it up and not being able to allow it to swim easily. And the seaweed itself is just simply illusory. When mind knows that, then the seaweed disappears. It is mine. But when we say it disappears, doesn't mean that it is gone completely. What it means is it's perfectly in its place, but it's no longer clogging or slowing the mind down anymore. The mind is aware of it, but the liberation comes from being able to free oneself, the mind itself, of this. And when I say the one, I'm not talking about one like yourself. I'm talking about mind, which requires us to put down the notion of an ego or a personality or a life and being. It doesn't mean that when we do that and somebody walks by and they see like this body of Gilbert there and they're going, what happened? Oh, well, evidently mind realized it wasn't Gilbert, so it had no use of his body, so he's gone. Where did he go? He went where mind goes. Who knows? I don't know. But I don't want to be like him. Look at him. He's like dead. It isn't in this way, but this is what we think in our head. We can't unleash ourselves from that. If we can unleash ourselves from this notion, that's liberation. This is so deep. What just this little exchange here is really important. And so as you contemplate that, then you will see how powerful this part is, because it can lightly adjust the way that you think. Those who have offered up their opinions, you receive the most benefit. You should not think, oh gosh, I got it wrong. Next time I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get it wrong. It isn't in this way. So Harry has a question. Go ahead.
I was just saying, if causes and conditions never fail, is form the cause of emptiness, or is emptiness the cause of form?
I will tell you in the year of the donkey.
Okay, I'll wait patiently.
Good, with a beginner's mind.
Yes.
Very interesting. Okay, we continue on. The monk then asked, if you don't cut off or attain a single Dharma, what difference is there between such people and common people? Very interesting. He's saying, well, if this is the way it is, that's not much of a sage or a saint, right? Like anybody can do that. You just don't do anything, So what's the difference between them and a common person? Niutou said, there is a difference. Do you know why? Because common people try to rid themselves of afflictions, and they delusionally scheme for gain. So common people try to rid themselves of afflictions and scheme for gain. There is nothing that is fundamentally lost or gained by the true mind of a saint. That is why there is a difference. This is very powerful, incredibly powerful. And it can be so misunderstood. But it's important because of the fact that when we practice the paramitas, we are not practicing for the sake of cleaning this body. It's like a hermit crab going and saying, you know what, I'm going to polish up this shell and I'm going to get it all really nice looking. I'm going to paint it gold. And what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea? And I'm going to get rid of all these barnacles on it too. But it's not really the crab's original body. So what good is that? So this master Niutou is telling you this type of a practice is in vain because you're trying to polish up this body. You're trying to polish it up and reform it. And many of you have had people in your lives that you know, or people that have brothers or sisters that they'll go, I promise this time I will stay off drugs, I will stay off this, or I'll do this, or I'll swear off gambling, or I'll swear off whatever it is. And you know they're not going to do it. You know, and they try. And then even if they do, then what do? Then they go around and they have polished the body, but they haven't really gotten to the essence of the practice. And that's what's important, because all of this, I'm not saying that you shouldn't lead a wholesome life, but you don't lead a wholesome life for the sake of leading a wholesome life. It is just a practice, but it isn't that if I lead this wholesome life, I'm going to get a reward. So you're standing in line with millions of people waiting to get your reward from the Buddha, you know, and you practice in this way. Not bad, because you don't cause too much trouble, but you're not really penetrating. You're not going to the essence of mind. This is why they say that the Buddhas use the vexations of sentient beings to practice. It doesn't say, oh, you know, we throw all that stuff out. It's looking at it. What vexations? Your vexations, you use them to practice. Every moment you're aware of what is arising in mind, and you choose in the present moment wisdom. That's how you practice with vexations, right? Not bad. You don't have to throw them out. They're worth something. They're good. Recyclable. You just keep bringing them up because they come up naturally anyway. If you have certain greed, you know, it'll keep coming up, and then you just use it for practice. Oh, here it comes again. Boom. Here it comes, a little bit weaker, and weaker and weaker and weaker. This is how you practice. This is how the Buddhas get to be Buddhas. Not bad. It's very simple, yet also very subtle. But the key component here is ekayana, one mind. And when we have this one mind, then it becomes easier to focus on the present moment. Any questions so far? We'll move on. Okay. This is just a little small part, but it's good stuff. Did somebody say something?
Michael had a question.
All right, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, it's a maybe not so important question, but still it came up a couple of times. So because you say the Buddhas use the vexations of sentient beings to practice, and the first time I heard this, I wondered, why the Buddhas? I mean, why do the Buddhas need to practice? The Buddhas already have figured it out. So why not the Bodhisattvas? Or is it not important at all? So yeah.
Says one Buddha to another.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You're like a Buddha in waiting. What are you waiting for? Just use your vexations to practice. Not bad. You see, so it's this way. But yeah, Michael, that's kind of like the initial reaction that one gets. Like the Buddhas are over here, right? and we're here. And so we're going, well, how do we get from here to there without really understanding that the mind that we use, this very mind, is the Buddha mind. So all we have to do is use these fixations for practice. Voila. See, that's a savoir-faire word that you throw out. Okay. All right. Some Ikai had some comment. Go ahead. Or you can read it, Santa.
All right. So Yun says, why causes and conditions never fail?
Why?
Why do causes and conditions never fail?
Because it's just the way the mind works. When we define mind, Pratika Samapada in the sutras, they say that it's just this mind, and Pratika Samapada is mind. Hold on. My dogs have been giving me practice all day long, especially that one. Unfortunately, I'm here by myself, so I have nobody to curb my dogs. You've heard of the dog whisperer. I think I'm kind of like that. I just use a lot higher volume. Like, stop it. Okay, see, that's how you communicate with dogs. Okay. That's probably not going to come out too well on the thing, but in any case, go ahead with the question. Santa Ikai had submitted a question, I think.
I read that out already and you answered.
I'm sorry, I missed it because of the dogs. I apologize. Can you repeat it?
Questions? Wait, Yun, you still have a question?
Why causes and conditions never fail?
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was the last one. And it's just this way. It's just this mind. It's how the mind works. Is that this is the fundamental teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha. When Shakyamuni Buddha, and I've said this many times now, when he became enlightened, the first thing he taught was causes and conditions and the 12 nidanas. And when he did that, he was showing how things come into being because of this, and that it's infallible in terms of that. And this is such a powerful thing, because when we see it, then we see that how mind, if it's distorted or unclear, how it fabricates things and brings things in, but it never fails. If someone has something and a smile, then it produces smiles in the environment. If somebody is very hateful in what they do, then it produces hateful speech and action and thoughts. It is just in this way. This is something that we have to have faith. This is called faith in mind, because this is how it works. When we see that, then we understand, but for this kind of illusory thinking, the illusory world would not appear. If we let go of all of that, then the world would not appear. But even to someone that is there and the world is manifesting, in fact, it doesn't really appear for that person. One can function in this illusory world without being attached to it. And so we see things in a different viewpoint from there. Even though we're fully within the dream, we're dream walkers. We can walk in the dream. It's different than being a sleepwalker. A sleepwalker, you're just walking around like this, going, I like, I dislike, I'm sad, I'm happy, whatever. But a dream walker goes through and says, I understand the rules of the game here. What are the rules of the game? Cause and conditions never fail. So you see things in this way. But for the fact that I've lived the age that I've aged, I would not look like this. If I looked different, I would be like the what was the guy? I keep always call him Benjamin Bunny, but the strange case of Benjamin, whatever, the guy who worked his way backwards and became a baby. It doesn't work that way. Cause and conditions work perfectly, impeccably. It's very important that we understand this impeccability of mind. But so much so, this impeccability of mind gives us the ability to practice, because cause and conditions never fail. If we follow the Buddhist direction, we will realize Buddhahood. It is infallible, but we have to follow it. And we have so much doctrine and scripture to adhere to and to study and to contemplate, so that we use this right view. We can't help but it's like throwing a dart and hoping it hits something. It's going to hit. It's infallible. So we do not know how this started. We just know how it appears. Other than that, we know that this is a principle of the Buddha mind. But we can't say, oh, this started back, so many millions and billions of years ago. Not even the Buddha can say that. Okay. It's a good question, though. I mean, because these are the questions, these are kind of fundamental questions that we kind of let slip. And then we start studying the other stuff and we don't really look and say, well, wait a second. What about this? So I'm very appreciative of the questions that are coming through and the comments that are being made today. Okay.
Gilbert,
Yes.
sorry. So I feel what saying it's kind of a rule, causes and conditions never fail.
Yes.
So, and if it's the nature of the mind, there shouldn't be any rule, right? And is it because we view it in this samsara world, that's why it comes as the rule, causes and the conditions never fail. But if it's not in this samsara world, if we purely just from the mind itself, there shouldn't be causes and conditions, and there shouldn't be never fail.
Well, again, we don't know how this happened, and I understand that, and the difficulty with all of this, and your questions are very genuine, very honest, and they should be there. These kinds of questions, in terms of it, we respond by saying, this is how they appear. You're looking at it, and what you've done is you've recognized the mind's disease. And I generally put a hyphen between the DIS and the rest of it, because it's dis-ease. You don't feel comfortable with this. You're saying, why is this way? This doesn't make any sense. But it is, in fact, what is the representation of compassion that is very, very important. And it is that part of the mind that is the mind that seeks to remove this disease. And so what you're representing is saying, this is not right. But mind says, that's right. That's right. This is why we practice in this way. Okay. And so contemplate this, really contemplate this. And as you get through with it, then bring it up again, because this is something very, very important. Did I really see what Suzanne said? All I'd say to you, Suzanne, is that you should be worried less about the gravity of that and the gravity of the outcome of your last breath. Okay, we continue on. Hold on. Get some more light up. The monk then asks, in considering what is attained by common people and what is not attained by saints, where does the difference lie between attainment and non-attainment? So it's saying, where is it? What's the difference between if you get it or you don't get it? Niutou said, the difference lies in that what is attained by common people is delusional, whereas the non-attainment of saints is not delusional. So, and remember, he didn't say the attainment of saints, he said the non-attainment of saints, and which is very, very important to say it in this way. It reminds me of Manjusri and the sutra of the dwelling place of Manjusri. And Manjusri essentially doesn't dwell anywhere. And so this is the same kind of thing. This non-attainment of a saint is a realization of how mind works. Whereas the common person, whatever they attain, oh, I got it, I understand. No, you don't understand, is delusional, because it's still based on samsara. It's still based on this world. And as a result of that, it is something that is built like a castle in the sky. There's no foundation to it. Whereas the non-attainment of a saint goes directly to the foundation of the mind, to the platform of the mind, such as in the Platform Sutra. It is why one approaching it with this true and proper understanding can become instantly realized, which is called Subitism, which was really presented by Hui Ning, of this sudden enlightenment that we have. But it's sudden only to the extent that it comes on quickly, but the foundation has to be present in order for it to work. Continue on. The monk then asks, please describe the viewpoint of the saints who do not recognize the difference in these two views. So he's asking, what is the difference of somebody who doesn't recognize the difference of these two views of the delusional and non-delusional? Niutou said, the terms commoner and saint are but false names. Within these two false names, there are actually not two things, and thus there is no difference. This again is right view. So in right view, we see things as ekayana, just mind. In this, we understand that all phenomenal appearances are created by the mind. This is very, very important to understand that. And so when the Buddhas are practicing the vexations of sentient beings, the vexations are a product of mind, and the sentient being is a product of mind as well. This, the sentient beings do not know. There's no difference there. But this requires a sincere practice in order to do this. This requires right view. So a monk asked, just at the moment.
Michael has a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so this reminds me a bit of as if at any moment mind is giving, wherever delusion arises, like in form of sentient beings, mind has already the antidote presenting at the same time. It's like in computer science, you would call it a error correcting code. It's delivered at the same time. Yeah. So this idea of the self-cleaning oven.
You're beginning to get, I shouldn't even say get, you're beginning to realize how mind functions. This is very, very important. Although you use words, it is what's in your heart that's reflected. That's most important. That it's not simply a parroting of words, but you're actually contemplating this, and that's important, because as we look at this is exactly how we begin to study this by ways of contemplation. And then what we do by this turning of the mind's eye inward, what we're doing is actually using the perception of mind itself to view everything. And when we reverse the perception of mind, what happens is that we now are seeing things from a partial dissociative viewpoint. It's dissociative because it is no longer entangled in the emotion of the moment. It is no longer. It's still, let's say, if it tastes a strawberry, it could taste the strawberry and enjoy the strawberry and feel clearly the taste of it, the sourness, the sweetness, the tartness, the coolness, all of those, the texture of it. But if it has to deal with, let's say, something where one steps on some dog dropping, it can deal with that as well. And it deals with it in a way that it realizes exactly like that. It doesn't taste like a strawberry, or smell like a strawberry. I don't recommend you taste it to prove that. But what you do is you are engaged in the moment, and you don't have to discriminate, because you know that moment's going to finish. There's nobody ever that stepped in dog droppings and had that stick to their shoe for the remainder of their life. Causes and conditions, everything is such that they're impermanent in their way. And when we see that, what happens is that it changes the viewpoint to one that one is aware of what's manifesting, and one is also aware of the why it's coming up, but we don't have to attach to it. And that's what's really, really important. Okay. And what Michael's doing is he's looking at this and realizing that there's all of these things that come up in the mind. But what we do instead is we choose in the present moment the Buddha mind. We choose wisdom, and it's an acquired taste, because when we're feeling something that is very pleasurable, we go, oh no, I really want to taste the strawberry. You can still taste the strawberry. You still engaged in life, and you're still engaged in all of the troubles that happen to people. But what happens is that you're in a much different position in terms of how you're dealing with it. You're dealing with it via the wisdom, making choices out of wisdom, not out of samsaric habitual patterns, because those habitual patterns are what are destined to bring you back, because you are attaching to the ego or the personality. If you don't attach to those, you still function in the world, but you just function a lot better. You're making decisions out of wisdom. How many of you would rather make decisions in your life out of wisdom than out of ignorance? Everybody, yeah. Well, at least, thank you, Harry. At least you put up your hand, huh? So of course you want to make it out of wisdom. Not bad. All you got to do is just, as a practitioner, you're just mindful every moment to return to the center point, to the present moment, and make your next decision from wisdom. Not bad. Okay, I'll move on here.
Did you have a question, Susie?
Question?
No, I was just putting up my hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Duly noted. Just in this moment, when someone uses his mind, how can that mind remain composed? This is kind of like what we're talking about. And then Chu said, just at the moment when the mind is being used, that is precisely when the mind is not being used. Let me read that to you again. Follow the bouncing ball on this one. Just at the moment when the mind is being used, that Ananda. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Let me read again. I apologize. Just at the moment when the mind is being used, that is precisely when the mind is not being used. What does that mean? Just in this moment when you're using your mind, that's when you're not using your mind? Huh?
Right.
This is that Chan trick stuff, right?
Is that mind, the M, big M mind or the small M mind you're talking about? Yeah?
I don't know. You tell me. Go ahead. Who's speaking?
That's me.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the mind, when we say mind, so you often say that's the ego mind or the mind, the mind with the big M mind, right?
Yes.
So here, when you say the mind is used, so are you talking about whether the ego mind is used?
I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think? But you're working on it. You're doing it in the right way. You're kind of working on that. Let me read some more and maybe that might help. Convoluted thinking and speech just cause everyone trouble. So he's talking about convoluted thinking and speech cause everyone trouble. But speaking directly and frankly doesn't cause complications. Remember when I was telling you this judge was speaking directly and frankly? It doesn't cause complications there. It's just savoir-faire, being cool in the present moment. And it says no mind is exactly the employment of mind. So no mind, no wunyan is the use of the mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's exactly, so this is, we could use the word precisely. It is this way, is that when we use wunyan, it is not that we do not have thought.
Right.
We have thought, but we let it go, just like Suzanne was talking about kusala and akusala in the moment in the note, that it's not a sticky thought. We just use the mind to articulate whatever thinking is there without attaching to it. Once it goes, it's gone. We don't have to call it back, or we don't have to do anything other than just flow like a river in accordance with cause and conditions and wisdom. And that moment applying the wisdom to all the appearances that are appearing. What is the wisdom that we're applying? Mind itself. What is a mind? It's the Buddha mind. So you're applying the Buddha mind in each and every moment. Not bad. And so it says no mind is exactly the employment of mind, while constantly, hooray, we actually made it off the page. Using the mind is never to employ it. So let's read this again. It's very interesting because it says, no mind is exactly employing the mind, using the mind, while constantly using the mind is never to employ it. This is Wu Nian. And you go, what? You cannot penetrate this by cogitation, by thinking about it. You have to contemplate this. If you can contemplate, this is where you're learning to contemplate. And so when we listen to a lecture, use your contemplation. Use this mind. Open that up. You're going to get more opportunities to use your contemplation here than sitting on a cushion. When you're sitting on a cushion, you're just contemplating the method. It's just one thing playing over and over again. Here, you're on the fly. So this is when you can really begin to practice this. Not bad, it's pretty good. Because the more and more you hone this ability, then you'll use the mind by never using it. I don't have to crank up mind. I don't have to go and then start talking and then worry about it just stopping. I'm sorry, I can't speak anymore because I don't have any mind left. So you have to crank it up again. You don't have to do that. Mind, once the pump is primed, it flows naturally, very easily. Whatever you say, you have no fear of it. You know that you're speaking from the heart. And when you speak from the heart, people will understand, especially if they're listening and contemplating, it will go through, straight through. And then he says, what I've just said about not using mind is no different from using the mind for deliberation. Very interesting. So he's saying, what do you deliberate? You deliberate, what am I going to have for dinner? Am I going to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Am I going to have a good meal, noodles, rice, whatever? You use your mind for deliberation. You're contemplating in the present moment what needs to be into your stomach. Okay. And so it works naturally. Everything that you do, you deliberate not from the idea of mental impressions or satisfying desires or putting off vexations, but just adjusting harmoniously to the present moment, this environment. It's easy. It's easy. We just use every moment to practice. Not bad. People are going to look around and say, wow, you look a lot calmer these days. Okay. The monk asked, when the wise use expedient words, they are exactly in accord with mind. But when the mind and the words diverge, isn't that heresy? So they're saying when you're apart from the mind, then isn't that heresy? Isn't that like what's not supposed to be there? So Niutou said, expedient and beneficial speech is the Mahayana way, and it eradicates the mind's disease. Speech that is unconnected to the original nature is a hollow fabrication. When one always adheres to no thought, when we practice this Wunyan, then one is on the road that cuts off mind. One's nature, apart from thoughts, is unmoving. So the nature of mind is unmoving. Thoughts are like phenomena. They rise and fall. And so we see things in this way. And it is without misconceptions concerning birth and death. So the idea of birth and death means that there's no misconceptions. And as I'm talking to you, there's not a misconception that Gilbert is talking to you. This mind is clear as to who's talking. And so it is just in this way that the mind can easily flow. Not bad. I can't say I do this all day long. I wish I could, because then I would be that much better practitioner. But that's why they call me a practitioner, a beginner to boot, because it does take practice. When there is the sound of an echo in the valley, the reflection in the mirror can turn to hear it. This, all right, he kicks it up a notch at the very last moment. Okay. I'm going to say it to you again, and then let's see if any of you have any idea what he's talking about. Okay. When there is the sound of an echo in the valley, the reflection in the mirror can turn to hear it. What do you think that means? I see there's volunteers. Eon, what do you think it means?
The way that I feel is that it's talking about how true nature is behind everything, and that it can turn and respond to whatever kind of phenomena that arise. There's no confusion. Like, the appearance that appears to respond is just an image in the mirror. There's no movement. It's just that true nature, and that's it.
I knew I shouldn't have called on you. You messed this whole thing up. I hope you were paying attention to him. But this reflection in the mirror can turn. What is that?
The reflection in the mirror is phenomena.
So the phenomena can hear the echo in the valley.
It can only appear to hear and appear to respond. But it's the mirror that is doing everything.
Anybody else? I like your first part better. You weren't wavering as much. You just have to keep it rolling, but it's good. It was good. Semtha?
Sure. Is this phenomena responding to phenomena? This is pratitya samutpada.
But there's a big but there.
It's very clear that phenomena is phenomena.
But anybody know what the but is?
The concepts come to the brain through the belly, then twist the meaning of the mind.
Okay, so explain that some more.
The mind reflection. The brain have the reflection through the belly of the mind, but always misunderstanding the true meaning of the mind. They change the true meaning, and then always the meaning get from the belly is misunderstanding, it's wrong, it's illusion, it's delusion.
And how about the reflection in the mirror?
The mirror is our brain. It's like the computer screen, the screen, and then our concept from we read the concept from the brain, they will misunderstanding the meaning.
Okay. Anyone else?
Wendy had her hand raised.
Wendy? And again, thank you all for participating, even those involuntary and volunteers. Go ahead, Wendy.
What I was thinking is that it's actually all mind, and it's phenomenon that because mind phenomena is also mind, and so the reflection in the mirror is that is only if something decides to hold on, the reflection in the mirror can hear the echo, which means that to me is that there is an echo, there is a mirror, but nobody's attaching to it. So it's just all mind because everything is mind. That makes sense.
And what part of it is our mind?
The part of it that would be, well, there is just mind. But if there was somebody or something like a reflection that heard the echo, they attached to it. So it wasn't, it was still mind, but it was also the mind that you use to follow function.
Who is this you that uses this mind?
If the you is somebody, or if there is anything, or there could be nothing that hears the echo. There is a you. If somebody can hear the echo, there's a you. But mind just hears the echo, period. Reflection is just mind.
Okay. That took a long time to get to that point.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Everything is mind. Even the
Right.
phenomena belongs to mind. So the reflection, the echo in the valley, it's all mind. And if we turn to hear it, we're using the function of this body to see, to hear. But the difference is that one who is liberated uses these to contemplate versus cogitate. So contemplation doesn't mean that you blank your mind. It is this perfect awareness of what is happening in that very, very moment. Precisely what's happening. Okay. We kind of blended into the question and answer from the lecture. So if you have any questions or comments, you can do so now. I think there were some vestiges or some remaining questions and stuff.
Wendy Jiang.
The other Wendy.
Okay. Thank you. It's kind of probably everybody else know the answer, but how do we use vexation to practice? How do you said Buddha used the vexation, use sentient beings vexation to practice? But how do I use my vexation to practice?
Oh, very simple. I mean, it is essentially you use your awareness. So you keep your mind in the present moment. Whatever is arising in mind, we know that this is arising due to causes and conditions. So if we talk about kusala and akusala thinking, which goes into the 4 practices where we have we want the practice of maintaining wholesome thought and bringing forth into mind wholesome thought. And then we also want to let go of unwholesome thought and not bring unwholesome thought into mind. The wholesomeness has to do with attaching to whatever is arising in mind. If the thoughts just simply rise and fall, there's no problem. That's still wu yin. But when they stick to us, then there's an operation of the ego. Even though it may be subtle, there's still an ego that's clinging to it and trying to establish that there is the existence of a life and being. When we let go of that and we use these proper practices, then it is just the Buddha mind. So you're constantly bringing the mind back to the Buddha mind. Not bad. So this is how we practice of vexations. And, unless you're a saint, and I'm looking at you, and you're on your way to become a saint, but you're not there yet. So you will still have vexations. So you have plenty of vexatious thoughts that arise in the mind. Use them. They're free. You put them there. You might as well use them, right? You can either use them to just mess yourself up and then die and come back again, or you can just say, like in Spanish, ya basta, this is it. Enough of this coming back and coming back. I just want to be finished with this. So I choose the Buddha in the present moment. That's the practice. It's very, very simple.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gilbert, I listened to what you just read, and you said the difference between a saint and the common individual is that the common individual, like me, often the moment I think, I always differentiate my direct retribution body and my indirect retribution body. So it seems to me that it's a far-reaching goal, at least first to be in the middle way. So I always wonder, like you as attorney in the court, what is your main motivation? I mean, are you going to be like, try to be win-win? It is so hard. So, I mean, your situation in the court is my situation in life.
The last trial that I had, the other side didn't even admit one document into evidence because I objected to them all. Not one document. Not only that, but at the end of their case, I made a motion to have the case dismissed. So I didn't even have to put my case on. I follow function as an attorney. I'm darn good at being an attorney. I don't represent people who try to cheat other people, but I stand up for my client, and I'm very, very good at it. And you know, I tell you this just so you know that I follow function. I can follow function as long as it's more. I'm almost losing power here. But in any case, whatever you do, it's a choice in that moment. But as an attorney, my mind is very, very calm. It's very, very calm, and I can see the things very, very clearly. And when you do that, then the mind is so stable in whatever function you're in. You know, it's that way. The attorney on the other side was very nervous, and she was not very comfortable in the court. And so that's the difference. You follow function, your function works much, much better. So it's very easy in this way. Whatever you do, whatever you're engaged in, you know, do it smoothly with a little bit of savoir-faire. And then your wife will be wondering, why does he look so handsome and so debonair now? Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I do that while I still have the chance. So
Esther?
any other question?
We have
Yes.
2 more at least. Esther?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not sure this question is it a language question. So I was working on a write-up about you. So when we say investigating mind, why do we not have investigating minds or your mind, the minds? This is my first question. And the second question pertaining to what we have gone through today, can we safely say that nirvana is samsara? Is there any difference between the two? Thank you.
Well, we'll answer your last question first. Nirvana is still samsaric in some ways if we attach to the idea of this kind of a blissful state, you know, where the self goes and retires and it's really, really nice. That kind of a concept is not correct. Nirvana, in its sense, in terms of being liberated, is just simply the utilization of mind seeing clearly. So we cannot say it is or it isn't. It just is the manner in which we practice with it. What was the first question?
Investigating mind. Why is there no article before that?
Investigating mind is very important because this is where we will have our practice. Okay, this is looking into mind and understanding it. When we understand mind, then what happens is that we're able to practice in the proper way. We understand what we're doing. If we're just sitting there to meditate and we just want to stop the mind, I want to stop the mind, I want to stop the mind. Stop the mind. Stop. We can stop the mind, but it is an illusion. It's an illusion that we've created, that we stop the mind. Rather, if we enter into a samadhi state, the mind is still aware of everything around it. It's clearly aware of it, but it needs not move. The mind by itself wishes to remain in an unmovable state until it's necessary for it to move. Not bad. So, but we have to understand how it works. When we investigate mind every single day. What are we investigating? The function of pratika samappada, moment to moment to moment. So when we see things arising in nature, we know there's a reason why they're arising. We know precisely that why they're arising. And so we're not confused about that. We know that these things arise, and we have a choice via body, speech, and mind to make a determination of what to do next, how to interact with these appearances in nature, whether they're the nature of the consciousness or the external nature within the what we call the so-called external environment. All of these things present us with an ability to see mind at work. It is mind that you're seeing, nothing else. Even though it's transitory, it nevertheless is the province of mind. Everywhere you look, every person that you see possesses Buddha nature. It is not that there is a Gilbert Buddha, but it is just simply that we understand that the very mind that of the people around us that they're using is the Buddha mind. It may be very clouded and via ignorance, but it still is. And this is how we practice. This is how we investigate mind, moment to moment to moment.
Gilbert, Esther was asking why we don't say we say investigate mind. Why not investigate the mind or investigate our mind?
I think when we investigate our mind, a lot of people, they start, there's some teachers that use it and say, who am I? Or like, but to me, I'd rather not do that. I would start from the premise with right view that the I is transitory. It is illusory. So there's no need for me to try to start there. I'd rather start right at the heart of it, which is mind itself, an investigated mind via right view. You've skipped the step of trying to negate the self. Negating the self can cause you a lot of confusion, because as you try to negate the self, you don't have to make the self disappear, because it will leave on its own. The self nature of mind, we could throw the baby out with the bathwater and try to throw out mind itself in this whole process. It's very, very subtle, the distinction between this perception of mind and the utilization of the illusory mind. They nevertheless, because they all appear in mind. So the only difference is that one of them believes it to be an independent, standalone entity, and the other one, the perception of mind, sees no difference in all phenomena that's arising, but it does understand that within that phenomena there is mind. So we start from a like a little bit better viewpoint. The other way, we're already starting with standing in a ditch. We still have to climb out of that, and there's no reason to do that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
We have one more question from Hong Gian. He's put it in, or he or she has put it in the chat. Maybe they could say it. If that's, can you talk? No? All right. Okay. I could read it out, Gilbert. For causes
Go
and
ahead.
conditions, would you please give, okay, they're not able to speak. For causes and conditions, would you please give some advice or insight about how to grow wisdom? It is so hard for me. We all know there were so many ideas, concepts that were considered right or wise in the history. At that time, society and law strongly supported those ideas. But by time in our current phase in the history, those ideas might even become evil. So how could I know what I do now based on my best of heart and mind, as far as I know, would not cause bad consequences in my future lives? Furthermore, a lot of time I feel my heart and mind is not on the same page, especially when my heart tells me not to act by street wisdom.
It's very interesting because you are straddling between the heart mind of mind and the mind of a sentient being, and it's difficult. And there lies a confusion that if you need to put both feet into mind, and if you put both feet into mind and practice there, little by little, that confusion will subside, and the fear will subside. One of the biggest fears for a well-known advisor is to present things in the wrong way. So I practice very hard and try to make decisions based on wisdom and make statements based on what I have read, and not only just one place, but where I feel comfortable with. Not everything that's written because it's in a book is right. And I found that out many, many times. But we begin to trust our inherent wisdom, and we derive power from that wisdom, and we use that to generate what we do in this world. And we use that to apply compassion, not in a selective way, but overall. And we see things via the idea of compassion. And this compassion is what truly can guide our heart. And when we do that, that compassion says to you, Gilbert, you need to read some more. I've already read for this class many times, many hours, but no, read some more. Maybe there's something that can help. But I keep my mind in the practice in this way. And so what appears to be simple and easy on the day that I'm presenting, it represents hours of sincere practice for the benefit of others. And it is in this way that we practice everything that we do. Everything we do, we don't have to take the last donut, although I'll flip you for it, and I'm very good at martial arts. Whatever it is, we become more giving, more generous, more patient in our life. All of this is from mind. And so as you begin practicing, that is why they have the paramitas, because those are aspects of that enable us to settle the mind down so that we can see clearly via the mind's own perception. So use that, and you will not have these kinds of doubts. Okay, I think that's about it. I don't think I have much voice left. I've been talking all day. So we'll see you next week. We're continuing on this. I'm kind of giving you a feel for the way when I had a small group in Riverside, they were very lucky to have these kinds of exchanges with me. So I thank those who have participated today and encourage those in the future to participate. Don't worry about sounding silly or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It is actually to your benefit. I mean, an incredible benefit to do that. And if people learn from what you ask, then there's merit there as well. So we will see you next week. Stay safe, especially those in the Midwest and Michigan. Be really, really careful where you go and what you do. I send my blessings to all of you. And we will see you in a week, unless I see you in Europe. Amitofo.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Take